I got stuff for you.
Holy moly. I need to get some snakes and release them around my house.
But they love eating people. They love eating kids.
These guys are the scientists of the supernatural, lecturers leaving lessons for inquiring laymen. They are applying the scientific method to a world that baffles science. They are the cryptids of the corn.
Every day that you open your mouth,
I know, right?
I'm more convinced that you're abducted by aliens.
No.
And it just stood up. I mean, it just like kept going and going. And she goes, what the?
These are idiots.
I was laughing reading this because I already knew how you would feel.
Idiot. What part of the story fits your balloon?
Well,
This isn't a UFO. But who else has big black wings and red eyes?
Batman.
Oh, Mothman.
Oh, yeah, Mothman.
Well, everyone, I think we know exactly what it is. So say it all with me. It was the sandhill crane.
Would you try it?
No.
You wouldn't eat it?
No.
Why?
Because they're probably toxic. There'd be a lot of poop in my pants. I've seen a 6-foot alligator go swinging through the air and slam into a tree. Hey, welcome back to the Cryptids podcast. I am the great and powerful mystery.
And I'm J Clone 221.
221. Are you ready to talk about more death and destruction?
Yes, and I just got reminded of something of 221 2111. Do you remember that commercial?
No.
I don't remember what it was. I think it was from furniture store around here local.
Oh.
That was the number though. 2212111. He just keeps saying.
I kind of do.
Yeah.
You've unlocked a memory.
Right, me too. I don't, but I rolled the dice and that's what number I got here. So that's why I'm 221 today.
Yeah, he was kind of like an older Morty from Rick and Morty.
Yeah, he's just yelling though, the phone number at the end of the commercial. I think
Wasn't it the furniture store right here on the edge of Lima?
Yeah, it was. Crawford's.
It's not that anymore, but I think that's
back
what it was.
in the day, it's what it was,
Yeah.
I think, yeah. No,
All right.
it's nothing now. It's gone.
No, it is.
I don't think so. I think it's
Oh,
abandoned.
Okay.
I think.
So back to the tragedy.
You're right. Dyatlov Pass,
So-
part 2.
A lot of comments on this one for the part 1 came out. Everybody really enjoyed it so far.
Yeah.
We're getting to the strangeness. You know, we just talked about that there were undigested food in victims' of stomachs. A military investigation has just begun. So that's where we're picking back up.
We've only just begun.
And the weirdness with this case obviously has I just forgot the word, entranced people since it happened.
Okay.
Because every couple years, somebody else comes out with a new theory or new evidence and stuff like that. I don't know anymore. I don't know. After 70 years later,
Right.
what evidence did you just find?
That's new. I mean, there's still stuff out there, I guess, you could bring to the table, but because the mystery hasn't been solved yet.
Right. Now, I'm not saying that. You're not going to go out to the mountain and see anything new, maybe.
Right,
I guess
yeah.
unless it was in the bottom of a snow ravine, and this year it was super warm. So it finally melted low enough to...
Reveal something for
A
the
Yeti
first time
claw.
in 70 years. Yeah. I doubt it, but
It was a mutant black bear,
maybe.
not even a grizzly.
Maybe.
All right. So the investigation speculated that sometime before midnight on February 2nd, the skiers were frightened by, quote unquote, an unknown event.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Members of the team, so this is, we're getting to the military investigation. So keep that in mind.
At least they weren't lying about that.
A mysterious or unknown event.
Frightening.
Members of the team managed to cut and or rip through the fabric of the tent in a frantic attempt to escape whatever had been attacking / approaching them, and in their haste to burst out into the icy night, mostly unclothed and in a state of sheer panic. So yes.
So yes.
Being experienced skiers and mountaineers, the group must have been fully aware of the fact that they were not able to survive long in the frigid wasteland without protection.
Right.
You imagine that. So,
Well, there was
I'm
that.
going to take this slow
Yeah.
because you're a big group of people, right? And a group of 8 people, that's a lot of people for an animal to be messing with. I don't know. Did you just see the grizzly bear that didn't attack anybody as far as I know, but out in Yellowstone, I think it was, where it was chasing those people?
Mm-mm.
And 99% of the hikers were like grouped up and yelling at it. And then this group just ran. they're like, don't run. And then he just turns and starts chasing them.
The bear did, yeah.
Because it's
It's reaction.
that reaction.
Yeah.
But he looked at the groups of people and he's like, I'm not messing
With that,
Yeah.
yeah.
So a large group of humans is intimidating for most megafauna.
Oh, for sure.
Maybe not polar bears. Maybe yes.
Maybe. It's
Because
just-
they polar bears get bothered by dogs. Remember, we talked about that with polar bears on Freaky Fauna, is that they can be pushed off pretty easy. Like grizzly bears that are half their size will run them off of food.
Yeah.
Polar bears are hunters, not fighters.
Okay.
So if it doesn't look like it's an easy hunt, they're going to probably just avoid the confrontation altogether.
Okay.
I don't know, though. It's just odd.
Yes, it is.
So, yeah, they knew they weren't going to survive long out in the middle of the night on the slope of a mountain after something or some event had happened.
Something scared them out
Yeah.
into the I guess the frigid air with no protection. And those two guys that were just in the tree line with the fire. There was
So I'm
evidence
getting
of
to that.
Yeah.
So this indicates, or to be the investigators, to the team must have been convinced that they were facing extreme mortal peril and to have opted to flee for their lives rather than remain with the tent in the warmth.
Okay.
That's what, we're breaking down with the investigation. We all already know this at home and everything like that.
Right.
But, it's an important thing to rehash. These were very experienced people. Several of them were getting ready to take their expert level mountaineering class to lead charters out into the mountains.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a dog in the bunch, as they say.
That's inexperienced.
Yes.
Yes.
So whenever they destroyed their tent to get out.
Mm-hmm. Which is saying something right there.
Mm-hmm.
Because, yeah.
They know that they're going to die of exposure.
Right.
But whatever happened was worse than potentially dying of exposure.
And losing your tent over.
Mm-hmm. So, general bear tracks found in the deep snow implied that the team had initially scrambled outward in all directions. So when they first find the site and they're really, really looking at the tracks and everything like that, everybody's scattered.
Anyway.
Everywhere. Every direction.
Which I'd imagine would
everywhere except up the mountain.
Okay,
which would make sense.
The hardest path.
Nobody runs up mountain. Unless something's coming from the bottom.
I guess, but yeah, if something's right on you, you're not going to run
up
where it's hard to run away and you're slower.
Yeah. So they scrambled in all directions, but they managed to regroup one another down the incline about 900 feet in the now shredded tent. 900 feet down below the now shredded tent. So they regrouped in small groups.
Mm-hmm.
So they started finding each other. So there's a couple reenactments of this scene. And all of them are horrible.
I imagine.
As in not horribly done. As in the event.
The outcomes.
No matter what happened, it was horrible because everybody died.
Mm-hmm.
Tongue ripped out, cattle mutilations, all that stuff.
Gosh.
But you imagine you're freezing to death. You're naked. Something scared you out of your tent. And you're looking like, Jay. Trying to whisper in a pitch black forest in the snow in your underwear, barefoot. Jay. You're trying to find each other.
Oh, yeah.
And then they did. They found each other in groups and stuff like that.
Screw that.
But the Yeti one is the one that you see the reenactment of a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen a monster and then you're trying to find each other?
It's like playing hide and go seek in the dark and trying not to pee your pants.
Yeah. Gosh.
What an extreme different example, but
So investigators had surmised that the group had huddled for safety beneath a large pine, and this was Dormuskis and Kerfusos tried desperately to climb the tree. So these are the guys that shredded their fingers, had embedded chunks of their skin
in the tree,
into the tree, trying to get up, and broke every branch 16 feet up.
Trying to climb it. Yeah.
So before I continue on with the investigation part of it, I've seen people say that the thoughts of that were they were just trying to climb to see each other. Makes no sense to me. It's middle of the night. It's 2 a.m. or whatever, right?
And you're not going to frantically work your fingers to the bone trying to just see another person.
Yeah, to me, it's the fear aspect.
Yeah.
I just want to be in a tree because these two guys,
no, I'd feel safer up in a tree because there's only one way up.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I know where that's coming from.
I'm not going to get tackled by a Yeti running in like
from
a football
behind,
player.
Yeah. At least if something's going to eat me, I can see it coming now.
Mm-hmm. So at this point in the investigation, speculation that an attempt was made by the teammates to share clothes, but the states of undress that so many of the victims were found in would seem to indicate otherwise. So this is where we're starting to divulge or separate, diverge
stories or occurrences
thoughts
of events.
Yeah. Where it's speculated investigation, right? They got a bunch of bodies,
right. Let's put the puzzle piece back together.
So it seems like either they were taking clothes off and giving them to other people, or that people were dead or dying or whatever, and they took clothes off of them.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know.
It's hard to say.
Either way, something happened.
Bad.
Yeah. Still, the evidence suggested that the groups, obviously terrified by the prospect of returning to their tent, managed to gather enough kindling to start a fire. So this is weirdest. This is not the weirdest thing, but one of the weirdest things to me is that they're 900 feet from the tent. That's not that far.
Mm-mm.
They can see the tent. If it was bright out, you could see where the tent is.
Mm-hmm.
They know where the tent is. They are scared enough that they will not go near that tent, but they start a fire, I guess because you're going to freeze to death, not very long.
Right.
It's negative something. You're in your underwear, no socks. I've been negative 35-ish, fully dressed, and my hair froze off.
Yeah, it's freezing. Like,
it's
beyond.
It's 60 degrees below freezing.
Right, yeah, beyond freezing.
So I couldn't even imagine being barefoot in my underwear out on the ice.
I mean, they would have frozen so fast.
Oh, you would instantly have frostbite.
Yeah.
On your feet.
Yeah.
There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Your body will start pumping out adrenaline, and then your body's really good about shutting blood flow off to your extremities to keeping your core warm. That's why you get frostbite much more easy.
Right, yeah.
Anyways.
They needed that guy what was his YouTube channel that he just retired from?
Oh, Outdoor Boys.
Yeah, they needed him, the Outdoor Boys guy. He just shows up.
He would be like, I already got this hut dug.
He's like,
Yeti's dead.
Right, yeah. Use your back of your shovel and you just thwap right in the forehead and yeah, I don't know.
Dragging a dead Yeti.
Yeah.
We're going to eat good tonight.
Right, yeah.
Gosh. But so I guess what's weird to me is that whatever they were so scared of with the tent, they still make a fire.
Right. I would imagine either out of just desperation or natural, like we're freezing. Maybe they just reached a point where we're going to die.
We're going to die.
Or let's make a fire. And at least if we're going to live, that's the only way.
So the agents on the case had begun to wonder if Dorosky, and I'm just going to call him Kervik because I cannot pronounce their last names, efforts to climb the tree was a futile attempt to escape something, or if they might be trying to gain a better vantage point to see the tent, which was much higher up on the slope and was still under siege by whatever unknown menace had compelled them to take flight. So that's one of the thoughts, is that they were just trying to see if anything was still out there.
Yeah.
So they could go back to the tent.
Right.
I don't think that makes sense to me.
Right.
But I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. I mean,
you're
they
also in such a panic that you're not making rational decisions.
Absolutely. Yep.
And you're also freezing to death.
So they probably didn't even feel their fingers be getting ripped up by that tree.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had my fingers go numb, like I said, and being fully dressed.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah.
Where a pike have shredded my thumbs.
And you don't even realize it.
And I'm bleeding everywhere and I don't know it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. This is just so much weirdness with this thing. And that's why it's taken everybody by,
Or maybe they all had what my dad has, and he comes home like from work bleeding all the time and he doesn't even know because he can't feel nothing. He has no more
skin burnitis.
Yeah, no more sensory receptors left.
I was going to say,
he can't feel, he can't smell.
This is a side tangent.
He can half see.
When we came and got you the other day,
and he has no hearing.
He was mowing.
Yeah.
And we slowed down and we waved and yelled at him. He had no idea we were there.
Oh, yeah. No.
And he was right on the road.
Oh, yeah. He didn't know.
We were 20 feet from him in a car.
Yeah.
Blind, deaf.
Still doing it all.
Love your dad. He's, tougher than most people.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways,
he had a bowl of nails for breakfast without any milk.
I could see him eating mold and plastic because he did.
Yeah, I think he did, yeah. It's infused into his integumentary system.
Mm-hmm. So at this point, during the night, the investigators proposed that they were likely to succumb to exposure, the two guys that made the fire.
Yes.
They just died of exposure, which
was probably fast.
Sure.
Yes.
It's even if they had a little fire, you're naked, essentially.
On a mountain. In a blizzard.
Yeah. It's not great.
No.
It was then the three members of the team, so the other group, Kornlagrove, Solden, and Dyatlov himself,
right,
determined that braving weather, or whatever it was had apparently infested the tent was preferable than dying of hypothermia or exposure.
Okay.
So this is when this group is starting to work their way back to the tent. Like they're finally like, we're going to die. Whatever's out there is not as scary as just dying of hypothermia and exposure. So resolved and almost certainly terrified, the exhausted trio attempted to make their way back up the slope. None of them would make it. Whether the young leader out of sight, one can only assume that the remaining team members, Zortro and the other group, hope for the best, but were expecting the worst. Likely terrified beyond belief. The 4 remaining survivors stripped whatever they could find off the corpses of their friends, and almost certainly praying for daylight. So those 3 never made it to the tent. And remember, we got weird head strikes, we got crushed, rib cages, all that stuff.
Something got him.
Even the guy that was running from the tent, so it was in the group trying to go back to the tent. They had the big gash in the back of his head.
Right.
He still died of exposure.
Okay.
So something had hit him extremely hard.
And he lived.
And he was passed out.
Okay.
But he was, in my surmising, he was laying face down in the snow and then died of exposure before he died of blood loss or trauma or anything like that.
Well, yeah, he probably didn't. His blood probably froze before he lost it.
Well, I mean, you were in 45 degrees and laid in water on ice. How fast were you cold?
I mean, it took a minute.
But you were complaining about cold.
Oh, yeah.
Within 10 minutes.
But this is 10 degrees above freezing. Oh, for sure, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. This is 30 degrees below freezing. And he's laying face down naked in the snow.
Yeah, it's probably not good.
Minutes.
Probably not good.
You have minutes, I would say. I know if you fall in the water, you have a minute and a half to get out before your body starts shutting down.
That's not long.
No, and that's just because it sucks the heat out of you.
T-pose.
Yeah, so none of them made it. They're most likely expect the worst. Likely terrified beyond belief. They stripped, the corpses of their friends. So fearing that their friends were all dead, the investigators hypothesized that this group of 4 decided to move nearer to the forest in hopes of finding some kind of shelter. Fallen logs, a snowbank, anything.
Any structure.
So they're waiting for their friends to come back. They never do. Whatever's out there, whatever happened, they die out in the ditch, essentially, or out in the open slope.
Right.
You imagine it's pitch black. It's 900 feet. It's not that far.
No.
And your friends just walk to their death.
Basically.
And
or
they're
run.
like, well, you can't run up a slope in a snowstorm after you've been naked for...
Oh, gotcha. The one's coming back. Gotcha, okay.
So they're not coming back. So all right, let's go see if we can find something. Somewhere along their journey, they descended into a nearby ravine, and their remaining teammates would sustain their fatal injuries or their internal injuries. But investigators could not find an obvious cause. So let's pause here. So this is the 4 that go down into the ditch.
Okay.
Some people say they fell. Most people agree they did not. Their injuries do not match falls.
Okay.
They probably crawled into the ravine to get out of the wind. So it wasn't great shelter, but you're out of the wind. And then they all started huddling together down there. So keep in mind, this is the group that had internal injuries, crushed, like they were smacked by a car going 35 miles an hour.
Okay, gotcha.
This is not that they fell and broke ribs.
Yeah.
This is hard hits. Thoughts?
What if their tent got lifted and dropped like a cow and like an abduction? You ever seen those videos?
You said that last time too.
I did?
Yeah. And I agree that is a thought.
I think I said about the being abducted because I do still believe that. But what if those internal injuries are from a drop?
But so
I did say that drop before?
Yeah.
Okay.
That they dropped the tent.
Right, yeah.
And that's why everybody freaked out, cut
Scrambled.
out, and ran.
I also thought too, maybe what if a new thought, being on that, the past is pretty remote, right?
Gosh, yes.
So what if somehow maybe where they set up camp, I don't know how you set it up, but what if they had to dig, anchors down into the snow?
Yeah.
What if they unlocked some old bacteria that what's the word when it reinvigorates or
it reemerges
inside the tent, and then all of a sudden all of them just went mad from some infection from something that just drove them all nuts at the same time, like they were all on some hallucinogen or something,
That is a thought.
and they went stir crazy or cabin fever, some type of.
So hold on to that.
Okay.
Because yes, I think that is one of the higher possibilities. Not maybe that exact scenario,
Right,
but there is something very similar
like
that may have happened
like
that caused this.
like a fungus infected their
Yeah.
brains and
Same with
hijacked
the
them.
drop. Both of those are high possibilities. All right. So the first to perish in the group of the forensics report was Turban Burali. Within hours, his fellows had died too. Zortovar would be the last to expire from a combination of extreme internal trauma and hypothermia.
Okay.
So between getting in the ditch, some of them, he died like 4 hours after he was in the ditch.
Okay. So
But
he was
he
a
had-
fighter.
But he had extreme internal hemorrhaging and problems.
Yeah.
It was not clear if the removal of the young woman's tongue occurred post-mortem or if it was removed when she was alive. I've seen both because I've seen people say that it was eaten by a fox, like after she was dead.
Right.
It was ripped out by the root. And there are many, many people that agree that it happened while she was at least alive or very soon after she was dead.
Gosh.
Like it was not eaten, like a chunk of it was eaten. It
No,
was
it's pulled out.
removed
Yeah.
with great force.
And and typically when it comes to cattle mutilations or mutilations in general, it's never like a rough removal. It's it's surgical.
Yeah, except you remember when we did cattle mutilations? I think it was 3 parts or whatever.
Uh-huh.
There were some of the earlier ones that
yeah.
were rough.
Different types
Yes.
of yeah.
And and we've talked about that, whether it's all the same thing, and we don't really think that there's groups, like there was all those cults in Texas in the 90s that were caught mutilating cattle.
Mm-hmm.
And those were people doing it, and they
Right.
caught people. That
Right.
farmer shot one of the guys.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also a lot of strangeness with cattle mutilations.
100%.
With like cryptid animals doing it, and whatever aliens are in the U.S. government,
And just how clean the incisions are.
surgical.
And how whatever organs are pulled out or removed,
Mhm.
blood being drained, and then magnesium carbonate.
Magnesium carbonate.
all the signs and features of a authentic mutilation event.
So with all that being said, the final survivor died less than 8 hours after the initial event. As with everything else in the case, the discovery of the missing team members offered more questions than any answers that were ever produced. And most importantly, the number one thing that was asked is what happened. So let's talk about some of the possibilities. So do you want to go over yours first? Let's go over the alien scenario first.
Yeah,
You want to start?
sure.
Go ahead.
I mean, with the injuries involved,
Just so you know, I have a humongous list
I'm sure
because it's been 70 years and everybody and their brother has a different idea. And some are extremely credible
Mhm.
and some are, not. But it doesn't mean it didn't happen.
exactly. This whole situation's weird enough that
Yeah.
anything could be a possibility.
Yeah.
So with the alien angle, I guess, or alien, whatever that is.
Yeah, alien quotes.
Yeah, it could be like an abduction thing. Or what if I don't know, whatever creature. I don't want to say like alien being a gray,
Yeah.
know, or whatever other creature that is in that same realm
Mhm.
could have been dropped down there. Could have, I don't know, something could have freaked him out.
I love the idea, not love, but as far as this train of thought goes,
Mhm.
I think the most credible thing is, let's say it was a beam that they were getting like teleported up. So the tent is being lifted as a whole and they cut and start dropping out of it.
Yeah,
And that could maybe explain some of the internal injuries. They fell from a great height
Mhm.
and crushed, into the snow. I don't know. I'm not an expert in like post-mortem autopsies
or tractor beams.
or tractor beams. And then they ran, and that's why they were looking, they were looking for the UFO, and maybe there were creatures out there too, like looking in the woods for them.
Freaking him out. Yeah,
And the slashes, there's all kinds of stuff with that because it was like they were hit in the back of the heads with axes.
man.
Because several of them had the big giant gashes in their head,
Mhm.
and the one Dyatlov himself was covering his head, and then something would still hit him.
Right. Yeah. Gosh.
So that's, I guess, the first thing is that it was an attempted abduction by quote unquote aliens.
Right.
Maybe they're picking up the tent, and that's why they're cutting the tent
To get
start
out.
jumping out.
Right. Yeah.
And that could be, some of them maybe they weren't fully undressed yet because some of them had more clothes than others. And those are the guys that survived the longest. They still died of exposure and trauma.
Because everybody died, right?
Everybody is dead except the guy that got food poisoning.
He just died later.
Well, no, remember he was in the village.
Oh yeah, he died. That's right. That's
He died
right.
of
He didn't
old.
go. He wasn't on this.
He died of old.
Okay, fair enough. Not from whatever. Not exposure. That's for sure.
Not aliens.
Or aliens. Huh. I mean, there's a lot of weirdness to this story where it could be just an abduction case gone haywire. Could be.
A very sloppy abduction case.
Right.
Now, whatever. This was at the time with I believe, after the Eisenhower Agreement, when there was a lot of UFOers believe a huge increase in rural abductions.
Mm-hmm.
And they were gruesome. Like that UFO that crashed supposedly was full of body parts.
Right.
Human body parts.
Right.
Whatever they are, harvesting, people. And you pick out ones. Keep in mind, this is remember what the name of the mountain is in the native tongue?
Oh gosh, the Valley of, or no.
The Mountain of the Dead.
Mountain of the Dead. I was going to say Valley of the Dead. Mountain of the Dead. Yep.
The indigenous people, which we'll come up to, say don't go up there because you'll die.
Right.
And then people went up there and they died.
Not good. Not good.
Yes.
But, so is this just another supernatural spot, or is it an area that's, I don't want to say just government like controlled but or is it just like I said, a supernatural weird area that these things are aliens, supernatural, whatever that other side is that's operating in through aliens. I don't know. Is this just a spot for them where, like a portal place where they can go back and forth? I don't know.
So we'll come back to that. So while investigators were able to piece together much of what happened after the terrible event had started with physical evidence left at the scene, the primary question is, what caused it? The frightening these athletes, caliber skiers so badly that they were willing to freeze to death rather than ever confront it.
Mm-hmm.
And secondly, what, if anything, lethal injuries of the remaining survivors? Despite the popularity of the region, for 3 years following this harrowing event, the pass was closed to outdoorsmen, hikers, and skiers. So this was very, as far as people that did this kind of stuff, a very popular place. This was a known trail.
Okay.
This was the big thing. But you were doing this stuff. It's like a hike in the Appalachian Trail, right?
Right.
I mean, you wouldn't go do that.
Right. No, but experienced people that are doing it.
I have a friend that has no legs that does it.
Mm-hmm.
I won one of his legs in a card game.
That's right, yeah. Oh, we have listeners to the show that do it.
Yeah.
Every day. Live on the trail.
Yeah, 100%. Hi, Ricky. I don't know if you're listening to this. I gave his leg back, everybody. But he did bet it.
And he lost.
But I gave it back.
I guess that's all right.
I always loved that he would tell everybody, because he'd born without him.
Oh, okay.
But he would tell everybody a different story every time.
How he lost them?
Yeah.
Both his legs?
Yeah.
Just one?
Both.
Okay.
He had some genetic disorder that basically caused it. But he would say shark bite. And he'd, ran over by a train.
All sorts of stories to make it fun. It's like my cousin that he was bald on, like completely bald, like horseshoe haircut. He told us as kids that he did a headstand in the shower and it got sucked down the drain. And I believed it when I was a little kid, but I use that one now.
So this proves how serious. This proves how serious authorities took this case. They were not letting anybody up there.
Right, shutting it down.
But after months of dead ends and disappointment in every case, it was closed and the files were sent to what was many allege is the Soviet secret archives.
Okay.
So this is the time where, the Iron Curtain, everything's getting hushed up.
Oh gosh, yeah.
So it went from after about a month, it went from local, authorities, mountain rescue crews, the local investigators in the university doing stuff.
Yep.
To the government doing stuff. And when the government did stuff, it all went quiet.
Odd.
Yeah. Is it though? No. But even though the final official word of the event was the skiers fell to, now this is what the Soviet Union said.
Okay.
The official cause of death, a compelling unknown force.
Fair.
That should be what this episode's called, if I remember.
Compelling, that's a good one.
A compelling unknown force.
Now, why is that more honest than what we'd probably get here at home?
Because it is. I mean, but it is still a lie because they know.
Right, exactly. But even just saying that, I don't know. I just feel like we would lie more obviously here.
So that doesn't mean there weren't plenty of theories floating around. The first investigation proposed that they were murdered by
An axe murderer?
Mansi warriors.
What's that?
All right, so let's talk about Mansi warriors.
Mansi.
M-A-N-S-I.
Okay, Mansi.
Mansi. I've heard it pronounced Mansi.
I think Mansi sounds right.
But I don't know. It's the natives of the area.
Okay.
So the first theory offered up is the gist of a rumor mill regarding the fates of the 9 skiers that had unintentionally ran afoul of the Mansi tribesmen by trespassing into their territory. And these legendarily harsh Siberian natives had dispatched them accordingly. So here's how the theory goes. The Mansi natives, enraged by the insertion of the team, tear their way into their tent, force them to disrobe down the slope, where they would build a fire. After this, they would perish, trying to make their way back towards the tent. Then they got their skulls crushed by the butts of the rifles of these tribemen and or other heavy objects, knocked out cold. He and his friends had succumbed to the elements. Following the death of their comrades, the group of 4 are compelled to balance on the steep principle of the ravine where their bodies were found the following spring. Their wounds were perhaps the same blunt instruments that claimed the other 2's lives. Screams provide to be annoying that one of the Mansis thrown them to the ground, broke her ribs, and with his knees and forcibly removed her tongue to prevent her from shrieking anymore.
Interesting.
Then everybody was thrown into the ravine. At this point, the Mansi leave. The interlopers for dead, and admittedly dubious theory goes away. So, what do you think of this? I'll talk about the Mansi Warriors a little bit more.
Okay.
But what do you think before I tell you anything more about them?
Well,
so these are, I guess I should tell you a little bit more about them. They lived in this area. They're the ones that named it the Mountain of the Dead.
Okay.
They lived in this area. They're extremely, extremely tough individuals.
You'd have to be if you're living there.
Yeah. They were pushed out of lands like many natives were.
Okay.
So they were pretty much living on not reservations quite like we did in the U.S., but kind of close.
Well, fair enough, yeah.
So there were a lot of tensions.
Same differences.
A lot of tensions.
Yeah. Thorny issue.
So what do you think?
Well, I feel like there would be more evidence of, let's just say it was a group of people attacking them or going after them. I can't remember how soon the investigation started. I remember they were gone for 2 weeks longer than they were supposed to be, and that's when they realized something's wrong. So, I mean, footprints and stuff may be gone
Keep in
by
mind,
then.
they found everybody else's footprints.
Oh, okay. So then, there should be plenty of footprints for...
Yeah, you got my big thing.
Yeah, that was to say there'd be evidence of these people being there. There'd be evidence of, tools or whatever implements of weapons they're using to bash their heads in. It's not like speculation, blunt butts of their rifles. No, that one guy had his skull slashed into. It's not that. So I'm just gonna say probably not these guys.
So yeah, it wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't them. You kind of already got the end of it. At this point, these people were pretty beaten up by the Soviet Union government.
Oh, okay.
They were pretty much avoiding all contact with modern civilization as much as they could.
So they weren't gonna...
They were a warrior tribe.
Uh-huh.
They had some fierce warriors, but they were not out for blood.
No.
They were very much leave us alone. We're going to survive out here.
I feel like that...
But they did get blamed. A lot of locals blamed them, and this rose tensions even higher.
Wow, okay.
And they were out. Mansi tribesmen helped look for them during the initial investigation.
Oh, wow, okay. Well, I'd imagine they wouldn't be the ones killing them if they were then the search party.
Well, I mean, that's the easiest way to cover it up. Let's look over here.
Oh, I guess you could, yeah.
Let's look over here. I know the bodies are in that ditch.
Right, yeah.
But no, in my personal opinion, these guys had nothing to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
This was just easy finger to point.
Right, yeah, because there'd be evidence.
Yeah.
There'd be evidence.
Hundreds of evidence.
Especially with blood. And
so the military investigation was swift to completely say that it wasn't them. Stating the damage under the corpses were inconsistent with any human attacks. A human could not do this damage to another human.
Right.
The way it was done, it was like car wrecks and stuff like that. It's
very big, blunt force trauma.
Some modern day researchers suggested that the Soviets may have concealed evidence of the Mansi attack in order to avoid potential costly confrontation with the Mansi on their own oil-rich soil, which they were hoping to exploit. So that's the other side. Is like the Soviet Union covered it up because the Mansi had a big oil reserve on their reservation. No, I don't think so. I think this is just a whole lot of blaming the Mansi for nothing.
Well, yeah, it's someone to point the finger at.
It is.
And
It's
you don't
someone to
have
point
to
the finger at.
You don't have to figure out what's really going on or tell people what's really going on.
The Mansi, as far as I can tell, are a nomadic tribe of amazing people that are still holding, especially this time, still holding on to a lot of their culture.
Good.
And they were beat up by, the Soviet Union, and just settling and occupation and all that stuff. And
Right.
they just wanted to be left alone.
Right.
They picked the worst of their, territories just to live in. So
no one would bother them?
Yes.
Yeah. You'd think they would want to be left alone. That makes
so
the most
killing
sense.
a whole bunch of hikers,
Wouldn't be the best
because guess what
in
happened
their
the
best
next
interest.
2 months? Thousands of people are out there walking around.
Looking for
But
them.
Mansi did help. And even a person where I got most of this stuff from is a member of the Mansi tribe.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It would seem the total absence of bullets would also be a negative thing. Mansis are known for their marksmanship.
Okay, yeah.
They would have probably just, if it say it was the Mansis, they would have just shot these people.
Right.
That would have been it.
Why waste their time and energy just scaring them and chasing them off
And
when you can just shoot them?
The biggest one you already got.
Which is?
There's no footprints
Right.
of the Mansis. No boot prints. Every documented footprint was from the team.
So, maybe the Mansi were up there in the mountains, they developed how to fly in a hover.
I don't know if we have any Mansi tribe members listening, but please let us know how you've developed the ability to fly.
Maybe they watched that the newest season of David Blaine's.
They were like airbenders. They came down surfing on snow, like a little puddle of snow.
That's all it is.
But yeah, so
I would have freaked out too.
that's the biggest thing, is that there's no evidence that it was the Mansi.
That they were even there.
But they lived there. Like, not there, right there.
In the
but they
area.
lived on the other side of the mountain.
Right.
But they don't go up there. It's the mountain of the dead.
Dead, yeah.
The other mountains they go up and hunt and live on. That was the one they abandoned. And anyway, so that's just the big one. That especially a lot of locals blame the Mansi. It wasn't the Mansi, in my opinion.
Right.
There's very little evidence for that besides it happens that the Mansi lived there.
I can't believe the locals and blame them so much.
Just because it's easy.
I guess so. It's someone to blame.
All right. We're going to take our ad break, and then we'll be right back.
Well, things are looking good for the Jamboree this year so far.
True, but I wonder if there's anything else that can make this event even more awesomer.
Well, there's really only one person that could be the judge of that.
Hey, that's a great idea. Let's give him a call.
Two whoops and tree knocks. Sasquatch is there.
Hey guys, what's up?
Well, we're going over the schedule for the Jamboree. Well, you wanted to see what you think.
Alright, well, let me take a look here real fast. Okay, so the VIP tickets are $50 a piece, and that gets you into the Friday night dinner and meet and greet with the speakers and special guests. Monster costume contest? Well, that looks good. A free family room with activities for the kids? Well, that's outstanding. A Bigfoot calling contest. Of course, it looks like you're going to have a lot of food. Oh, good, and you'll have the craft vendors back. Last year, I actually found a squatchtopus. Well, let's see who the speakers are this year. Oh, you have Connor and Alexis Fightin, and Randy Bauer. Ron Murphy, outstanding. Oh, good, you guys will be speaking. Which J-clone is going to be there? That's my question. And Tony Merkel as well. Oh, good, you're going to have Jake Dressel back. He was excellent last year. And Brian Wolf. Why does that name sound familiar? Well, I have to tell you, gentlemen, having gone to a number of these events, this looks like it's going to be one of the best ones of the year. Say, will Tiny Toes be there?
Tiny Toes?
Yeah, the little guy that was there last year.
Oh, you mean Paul.
Yep. Tiny Toes will be there as well.
Tiny Toes.
Cool, well, this all sounds fantastic, guys, and I look forward to seeing you there. Until then, squatch dust!
Bye.
I love that ad. Thank you, Brian Wolf. You're amazing.
Yes, Santa, thank you.
He is Santa.
Right. Ohio Bigfoot Jamboree. get your tickets, your VIP tickets, listen to the speakers, and come hang out with us October 4th.
They're roughly half sold out right now, the last time I looked.
Ooh, all right.
So, I mean, still, 4 months away?
Yeah, rough. Maybe
5?
No, less than that. 4 or less.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
it's getting there.
It'll be here before we know it. How a Bigfoot Jamboree, too.
It's going to be fun. We're going to have the Mansi tribe there. I wish. And actually, so this is a completely side tangent. I think for Jamboree 3,
Mm-hmm.
I do have a Native American,
Folklore.
yeah. Storyteller.
Yeah.
With, I can't remember what tribe they're with, but talk to them a little bit. And I think they're down.
Awesome.
So I'm very excited. I'm very excited because I that's something I love, is because the Native Americans been here forever, and hearing their tales of Bigfoot and everything like that. Because every tribe has a version or even multiple types, like we've talked about. Or like and I can't remember off the top of my head. I think it's the Algonquins have like 4 or 5 different types of Bigfoot
Gotcha.
that they talk about. All right. So next, do you want to do one of yours before I continue?
What am I what?
Thoughts.
Theories?
What caused this?
Well, I still think I'm still leaning towards like whatever aliens or quote unquote are some supernatural entity. Is what I'm feeling on this one.
Let's talk about your madness.
Yeah, okay. Some like bacterial infection or something, or fungal infection.
Depending on whose story, what journals, all this stuff, there's no validity to this, as in 100% validity, as in it can be proven.
Okay.
There has been, like I said, in the last 70 years, every once in a while, something comes out where, like, we found a journal. Like, okay, how'd you find a journal?
Right.
Or was it released from Soviets finally? Like, like our government,
Oh, yeah.
after it's been held on for 50 years, but nobody cares anymore.
In a Smithsonian basement.
Well, no, they grind that up and snort that.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
But yeah. So I don't know. One of the thoughts is they drank from a spring on the way up. And during the 3 or 4 days, some of them started acting off. And it was recorded in journals that certain people were acting kind of strange. And maybe it was some kind of either chemical or a parasitic infection.
Mm-hmm.
It'd have to be pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
I lean more towards chemical pollutions.
Yeah.
Where it caused basically extreme violence in one or a few of them.
So like madness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A stream of violence specifically.
Mm-hmm.
And that there is several chemicals that can cause that in humans.
Mm-hmm. Where
we just snap and we just murder everybody around us.
Now,
it happened locally. This was probably 20 years ago. A guy had CO2 toxicity.
Oh, I think I remember this.
He came home and now keep in mind, the law of the past, it's all about murder or death, I guess. He murdered his whole family.
Yep, I remember that.
My dad knew him.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think my grandpa did.
I'm sure he was not a bad man.
No.
Whatsoever. His car had an exhaust leak and he was driving like an hour to work every day. And after about 6 months, he got CO2 toxicity and just snapped.
That's crazy.
And that's how it is with people.
Mm-hmm.
Is that, and he was fine. He was a, loving dad, great family. And it wasn't him anymore. Something broke finally in his brain.
Yeah.
And because he didn't know what he did.
Change your perception of reality.
The animal part comes out more, the basal instincts, the violence that kept us, alive in certain situations.
Mm-hmm.
But without the other part keeping it caged, it's too wild.
Gotcha.
So something like that happened. They drank from the water. 1 or 2 of them, let's say that night they're eating dinner, right? So some of them are undressed, some of them are dressed. They just snap and start slashing or hitting each other, like trying to hit somebody with an axe.
Gosh.
And they just go nuts. So everybody just scatters.
Right, yeah.
Everybody scatters. And then they're out there wandering around like a madman looking for everybody, but they're not, it's like rabid animals.
Yeah.
There's no rhyme or reason for the direction they're going. So that's why everybody was scared to go back to the tent.
I almost imagine like zombies, like in, what's that show called that was Walking Dead?
Yeah.
Like, just like that.
But so this person, whichever one went crazy, or maybe 2 or 3 of them went crazy, is just out there walking around looking for the other ones, but not really looking for them. So that's why they're kind of like looking for the tent. And when the group of 3 tried to run back to the tent, that's why they got murdered on the way back, is because that person was still out there.
Roman.
Gosh,
that would probably be the only thing more frightening than a creature or a beast, is a crazy human being.
And it was their friend. If that happened, it was a friend. And so what would be the toxin then? Is the question.
Right. Yeah, and is there any lakes or I guess water sources around them that have that in it?
Well,
potentially.
Keep in mind, it was closed for 3 years.
Yeah.
So another theory we'll get to here in a minute is with government testing. This was an area that did have government testing.
So maybe some runoff went into the
So that's my thought.
Water table?
Is that runoff was in the mountains in these little pools that was collected. Because there's a major river straight down the mountain from this group. So and there's evidence in the river and stuff like that. But the thought is maybe there was some toxic chemicals that they thought they had scrubbed. But in these little mountain springs and stuff like that, we talk with radioactive and heavy metals and stuff. It just sits. So that's my thought, is it's not industrial byproduct, military byproduct. And then when the government figured out that it was their stuff, they closed the area for 3 years to scrub it or let the stuff dilute, down to where it was safe again, and then opened it back up.
Because they did autopsies on these people, right?
And remember, they were more radioactive than normal.
Right, yeah.
Whether it was 1,000 times more or 5 times more.
Right.
But they were more radioactive.
Right. So is that a byproduct of drinking something that radioactive that was in that water, or being exposed to like interdimensional abduction creature?
It could be either or. My thoughts is I kind of, this is one of the ones I more go to anymore. That it was one of their own team that killed them.
Okay.
Or had caused the trauma. Doesn't explain though the crushed chest on some of them.
No.
Unless like they were fully like, mom picking a car off a kid. They snapped.
Adrenaline, like, yes.
The muscle limiters, because we have limiters in our muscles so we don't tear muscle tissue.
Our governors, yeah.
Yeah, we have limiters in our muscles. You can break, like the mom picking a car up. I just seen the video of the cop doing it to save a kid.
Yeah.
Or to save a mom that she was on an overturned car. I kid you not, on his body cam, you can see him lift this car like 4 inches so she can get her leg out.
Gosh.
It's a car, and he's one cop.
Right, yeah.
And the kid is just screaming like a 4-year-old.
And he's not the size of Andre the Giant, right?
No, he's just a normal cop.
Right, yeah.
And he literally picks it up so she can slide out. And he's like, move, he's yelling at her, and she's crawling out, legs broken.
Oh, my gosh.
And he sets the car down, and then he just pretty much passes out.
Yeah.
I mean, because after that...
A superhuman feat of strength, yeah.
I mean, your muscle, everything's drained.
Yeah.
But, so I don't know. That's one thing I go to.
Breaking the laws of physics.
But there's so much more with the government and the weird injuries.
And they're always.
Yeah. So we'll come back to the rest of the government. What do you think about that, though? They were poisoned
with radiation, maybe?
I think it was a different chemical, and the radiation was also there.
Oh, okay.
Like it was some kind of new weapon they were testing. Like this is the same time the U.S. government was building bat bombs, gay bombs, all that stuff. Halitosis bombs.
It's all real stuff.
So their government was doing the same thing.
A gay bomb and a halitosis bomb.
They had it.
I know. It's so ridiculous, but it's real.
The bat bombs are nuts too.
What's the bat bombs?
They literally would put bats in refrigerators.
Oh, okay.
Put little bombs on them with timers.
Shoot.
And drop them out of planes. So the bats would fly and hide in houses and stuff like that.
Oh my gosh.
And the bats would explode after the timers went off. But the problem was it never worked because they burnt down planes and U.S. stuff, and some of the bats came home.
Oh gosh.
So it was a mess.
I bet. That's when they switched to the government switched to just hide them in cell phones and pagers.
Yeah, but they had cats at the time too, and dolphins and all kinds of stuff.
Especially the dolphins. Gosh, that was a real thing.
I mean, there still are.
Yeah, I know.
They still see that beluga whale that has the bomb vest on every once in a while.
That's insane. Sharks with freaking laser beams on their heads. That's coming.
It was already done. It didn't work as well.
Not true.
Harder to pet.
Well, only in evil lairs, too. They exist.
So you already talked about the alien attack. This is a big one, but I'll read some of the parts of this. So, like all the 20th century mysteries involving groups of missing people and weird deaths, someone somewhere was bound to blame aliens for this, or flying saucers in general. According to the archive reports, Lee Iverton, a lead Soviet investigator on the case, collected a report from a group of hikers suggesting that the extraterrestrials might have been the results of the Dyatlov team's tragic demise. So a different group of hikers around the same time.
Mm-hmm.
The hikers were camping in an area about 32 miles south of them on the night where their deaths occurred.
Okay.
So they're not very extremely far.
No.
I mean, it's not walkable that night or nothing like that.
Right,
But you can see stuff.
Right, it's relatively close.
And they seen a series of strange orange spheres in the northern sky towards the Dyatlov incident.
Mm-hmm.
It's worth noting that during the next month and a half, other residents in the area reported extremely similar phenomena in this aerial phenomena. There was a couple that was actual like big orange crafts to orange orbs darting around, like basically massive fireflies.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the crafts were the same glowy orange?
Yeah, the orange was a consistent thing.
So that reminds me, and that's making me think of when we interviewed Randy, which he will be speaking at the Ohio Bigfoot Jamboree 2, October 4th, 2025, Ada, Ohio. Contact us for more information if you're interested, or go to cryptidscorn.com.
Good plug.
But Randy talked about his experience with, I think John Badger was his name, on his property, where he's seen basically a rectangular, and I believe in his book he described it as like an orangish-ish color of glow of the portal opening, but two orbs coming out of it, and one of the orbs taking the shape of Bigfoot, but having that glowy orb color still.
So if you also, the Sherman Ranch in the Uintas, the orbs that turn the dogs inside out, they were orange.
Yeah.
Orange is not a good color when it comes to these orbs and stuff like that. In our D&D campaign, there's like kind of a joke about it for the Patreon group, where blue is not great, but not extremely bad.
Bad, yeah.
Orange and green,
usually bad.
not great.
Usually.
Don't go towards those ones. They turn dogs inside out into steaming piles of meat.
Even the green ones?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Better be careful out there, Mark. The Ripper.
Oh, yeah, he had. I think those are different. So anyways.
Oh, okay.
The investigator himself believed that these spheres might have been involved with the unusual death. So the Soviet Union investigator thought that he didn't know what they were. He's like, it's just too weird to not be connected.
Right.
Same area, the same time during the mysterious death, a little bit before and a little bit after. These orange orbs were up on the mountains.
Okay.
They were slide rock
I
boulders.
was just going to say it, dang it. That's what it is. This whole thing's a slide rock boulder this whole time.
It missed, but they were so panicked.
Yeah, it scared. I mean, wouldn't it scare you? A 40-foot long whale coming down from the mountain? I would run.
In a 1990 interview, he claimed that in order to close the case and classify the findings as a secret, he was ordered to do that.
Okay, keep it under wraps.
So he was the investigator for the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union basically told him, it's over.
Right, so
close
shut up.
it. And that's why the official is the compelling force.
Yeah, unusual compelling, or a mysterious compelling force.
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
So he stated the officials were worried the reports of UFOs in the area by multiple eyewitnesses, including members of both military and weather service personnel, could result in some unnecessary speculations. So he found military reports of the UFOs at the same time, and the Soviet weather stations were seeing them.
Okay.
And the Soviet Union, his bosses, were like, we don't want anything about that in these cases.
For probably two reasons. One, it could be their own technology, and two, it could show like a breach of security.
Either way, I could believe either way.
Would show weakness. One would show, or not showing their hand, and the other one would be showing weakness. Yeah, so
in an interview with a small Soviet newspaper, he allegedly had stated this: I suspected at the time, and I am almost sure now, that the bright flying spheres had a direct connection to these people's deaths. So he said that many years later.
That's what he thinks?
Yeah, he said that to it. Yeah. He also speculated that some of the skiers might have spotted the UFOs, and that his and her cries might have panicked the other team members into rushing out just as the vehicles exposed above, sending them all fleeing into terror. He even speculated that the concussive blast that might have cracked the skulls, this one skull of the team member. that big weird gash he had in the back of his skull
Right.
may have been like a big sonic like from the UFO and caused all the weird internal damages.
Right, yeah.
He says this, I feel compelled to add that removal of the tongue is one of the most common features in
Abduction or mutilation cases.
cattle mutilations.
Yeah.
Other evidence that researchers claim is the evidence of alien interactions, allegedly orange flesh and grayed hair of the victims, which is hotly debated. But we talk about it all the time. That with the with the Mothman cases,
Right.
they had what they said sunburns.
Right, yeah.
They were
Radiation exposure.
radiation
is
sickness.
What we're speculating.
Yeah. So I don't know.
But you did bring up Betty and Barney Hill, though, and it made me think of that. If we speculate that as being like a fungal UFO kind of reaction,
Mhm.
If these, whatever that was, obviously was a light chasing Betty and Barney Hill,
Mhm.
it's very similar. So if it's these same lights
Mhm.
and it's a fungal UFO or atmospheric creature, what if all these people were just having a bad, negative, hallucinogenic trip, and that's why they're out in the woods running? Maybe they didn't even realize they weren't clothed. They were just going as psychosis through hallucinogenic means.
I hate you.
Dang it, I knew that by the look on your face.
That's not exactly what I have for
Okay.
mine. So I guess I'll skip ahead to that one.
Okay, let's tackle that one.
So yeah, they may have been prey. Okay, so these mountain ranges, it's specifically in Russia.
Yeah.
This is where, from Sweden to Russia, the gigantic atmospheric jellyfish types have been seen
Okay.
constantly
Oh.
for the last 400 years. There's reports of them
Are you suggesting the Dyatlov Pass could have been an atmospheric creature?
trying to eat this group.
Yes.
Like when we had Robin on the show, the
Yeah.
jellyfish tried to eat me.
Yeah. With the ovipositor. Was that was her,
No,
right?
no, that was a different one.
Oh, okay.
That was the one where she's seen the big glob creature gliding down the street, coming at her and her sister.
Yes. That's not the one with the ovipositor?
No, it had tentacles though.
That's what it was.
The ovipositor was in the Manta Ray Mayhem episode.
Oh, okay.
So even the most famous one in the book we did was from a couple 100 miles in the same mountain range
Oh, okay.
with the giant, like 600-foot long jellyfish.
Right, yeah. I
Flying
remember.
over the mountains.
Oh, yeah. In Russia, yeah. The angels, right?
That was also up there, yeah.
Okay.
So this area is a hotbed for organic UFOs.
Hmm.
But what if all the lights people were seeing were organic UFOs and maybe not even trying to eat them? Maybe it ran into them. Maybe it caused the damage. Maybe it did hit them. Maybe,
Or what if it's like in the movie Nope?
or it tried to pick up the tent.
Or like what if it is an atmospheric creature that got knocked down to this troposphere?
Injured.
right?
Yeah, we live in the troposphere.
And it's down here, and in that mountain range is an upwelling area for aeroplankton and whatnot. And maybe every now and then it wants a full-on meal.
Yeah, especially if it's injured, right? Because we talk about that with animals.
Oh,
Their
yeah.
behaviors completely change when they're injured. The most dangerous tiger
Yes.
is an injured tiger.
Right. Or even being isolated or pack animals, being behaviors different, like hyenas.
Yeah, where they separate from their group and stuff like that, and they just got to do what they got to do.
They act completely different, yeah.
We just talked this past weekend about the missing 401 and the connection. Some of them may be connected to atmospheric creatures.
Right. Because we don't know. And that's a silent...
So what if this thing tried to pick up the tent, whether it was curious, let's say it was one of the jellyfish, tried to pick up the tent, and it was picking it up or whatever. It was touching the tent, and the lights were everywhere, and the people ran, jumped out. It was, grabbing at them, and that's, causing injuries, swinging at them. Because we even talked about some of them maybe having because some of the cattle mutilations have organic metal-like structures in them. So we talked about the tentacles maybe laced with something like that as like a scorpion stinger.
Right, yeah.
Or it's a hard part or a beak on a squid.
Yeah.
It's the only hard part. So they're slashing at things either as defense or for hunting.
Yeah.
So I did have that written down.
Organic UFOs.
Yeah. I don't know if I really, truly, that's why I'd put my money on it. But it is a high area of organic UFO activity.
Well, let's think about it too. The people that I guess weren't killed out in the open, that succumbed to the elements, they took shelter under trees.
Mm-hmm.
If it was a Bigfoot or a Yeti or a mountain bear or some unknown creature that's just a physical creature attacking, it's going to have no problem if you're just sitting under a tree, finding you and killing you.
Exactly.
But an atmospheric creature
It doesn't go in the forest. It can't. It's too big.
Yeah.
And it may have been accidental, where let's say it's dragging its tentacles or whatever, or it's too low, and it hit the tent.
Yeah.
It could have thought, and to keep in mind of its jellyfish-like and its biological structure, it could have accidentally interpreted that as an attack on itself
Oh, gosh.
and been defending itself.
Like a dog that its own tail hits it and
Yeah,
it
and it
starts
freaks
chasing
out.
it and biting it and
Yeah.
freaking out. Yeah.
Because, I mean, it could have started just slashing or attacking, thinking that the tent itself...
Yeah, but that's not atmospheric behavior. Come on.
The only places you would run into them is at the top of a mountain.
Yeah, they wouldn't do that.
But
It's 100% speculation on speculation.
speculation on speculation on speculation.
They wouldn't do that ever.
I do think we're the first ones to ever say that the Dyatlov Pass incident was caused by a giant jellyfish.
Or some atmospheric
I lean towards the jellyfishes because the way it
types.
was.
Yeah.
Manta rays don't. I've never heard. Well, even the living clouds, I guess, could have done it.
Yeah, the thing from Nope.
It could have been attracted by they were cooking the fire. It's think about it. It's the only light up there.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, so just drew it in.
Yeah.
And then maybe it's doing its displays like.
And why it doesn't happen to normal people is because they camped in the middle of an open slope.
Yeah.
Everybody else camps in the forest.
Right, yeah.
So nobody else had experienced this quite like this because they know not to go near the trees.
Right, yeah. Well, maybe.
And then the concussive blast, or the injuries, could be these massive tentacle swipes.
Just
Like-
blunt force.
Yeah, because that's what they're
Trauma.
like. It's getting hit by a car.
Right,
So
yeah.
if you're a 600-foot long atmospheric creature and you swing a tentacle,
It's a big swing. Yeah.
and they I don't know. It's just a thought.
Could launch you probably halfway down the mountain if it hits you square.
A more likely one is military experiments gone awry.
Mm.
The Soviet Union, like I already said, got caught much, much later after highly classified stuff became released. They were testing in this area all kinds of weapons.
What kinds of weapons?
Well, right now, the weapons still are not released. But there was another secluded slope that was another test site not too far from here.
Okay.
So one of the thoughts is that they were testing percussive bombs. So this is using a giant sound wave that the bomb would create to cause internal damages.
What if they didn't even know these people were there?
That's the point.
Okay.
They probably had no idea.
Someone was over there?
Yeah. Because it was a harsh area, and they just wanted to test somewhere. The base is not too far away.
Mm-hmm.
They're right on the border of the Mansi tribe areas.
Yeah.
And that's what our government did forever.
Oh, gosh. Test on the natives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it happened to be an accident, quote unquote, that this, group of hikers was out there.
Mm-hmm.
So there's other bombs that maybe were like miniature radioactive, or they were trying to make mini nukes and solve the radiation problem. And like we have in modern day nukes, the radiation is not a big deal anymore.
Right, yeah.
And so this was testing of that stuff. And no one will ever know.
No.
I think we were talking about the Russian weapons, the Soviet Union.
All right,
So
they were testing weapons on this mountain, and the Mansi tribe was there.
Yeah. Well, that's why they protest, so they could see what it did to people.
Right, yeah.
No, and that's why a lot of investigators point to the wildly different levels reported of irradiation on the hikers.
Okay.
Is that the first number was true, and the second number was the Soviet Union cover-up.
The re-rated number.
Yes. Or it's only a couple times higher.
Right, yeah. It's kind of like...
Not 1,000 times.
Kind of like here in the U.S. when we're doing like temperature surveys and stuff. It's like, here's the actual number, but, let's run it through our models and we'll re-rate it, revalue it.
But, what was I saying? Oh, so that could explain the orange lights people were seeing at night was Soviet helicopters or other vehicles testing this weapons up there.
Yes.
Because it is a very, very sparsely populated area.
Mm-hmm.
And like we already said, generally people don't camp on the Mountain of the Dead.
Right. So
the Mansi themselves don't ever really go up there. So this could have been the Soviet Union. Normally, we're thinking like, there's nobody up there, right? It's close enough to a base. We can go up and test stuff, but it's, far enough away from people that there's not going to be any witnesses, first off, and we're not generally going to affect anybody.
Right. And if there are any witnesses, it's
one or two Nancy tribe people, and they're dead.
Isolated mountain people. Yeah. Who's going to listen to them?
All right. But yeah, so there's tons and tons of evidence for this. This is one that I have a couple that I would put, like I said in the first part, it's like Bigfoot. Any given day, I'd probably tell you I think something different on this.
Mm-hmm.
This is one that's always kind of in my top 3.
Is military.
Some kind of military experiment. I like the sonic bomb idea as far as what it did to the internals of some of the people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that's a weird factor you got to factor in.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, anything else? Do you have any questions? I have a lot about this, but I'm just going to skip over most of it just because it's stuff we've rehashed. Governments
hundreds of times.
Governments testing on civilians or accidental or on purpose.
Either way, they do
happens.
both. They do both.
The U.S. government did it to everybody.
Mm-hmm. All governments. Any government with power. Yes, government with power. Anyone in the Five Eyes, that's for sure. Organizations, which Russia is not in that, but still they're a superpower. They are a superpower around the world.
And this is during the arms race,
right? Yeah.
So they were testing everything, and the U.S. is doing the same thing at the same time, throwing everything in a wall.
Oh, absolutely. Because seeing what sticks.
Yeah. And we had irradiated areas like we talked about when John Wayne was killed by the U.S. government, which accidentally or secondhandly, I guess.
Right.
Because they had irradiated sand that they were using as movie sets.
Right. Smart.
What like we said in that talk, and nobody else had ever gotten sick. The only reason everybody got sick on that film set is because they had the big fans and they stirred up the radioactive particles.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so there's a lot of evidence for this one. The fact that they got shut down. There seems to be cleanup. A lot of people think it may have been, like you already talked about, bacteriological or chemical warfare sprays were being released. And they were going to come back later and test the effectiveness of the spread, not realizing there was people that they were spraying on. So that's one that gets pointed out. And this could have, so not directly killed them, but caused them to act nuts.
Or this is just one of their experiments is to see how whatever their chemical
spraying does to people.
Yeah, it does to people because this isolated group, maybe they knew like, all right, no one's going to make it out, or potentially no one will make it out of this, or they just don't know what's going to happen, but it's a group that they can monitor and no one's going to interfere with, or they're not going to interfere with civilization. Just see what happens. And then, oh, shoot, they all went mad and crazy and off themselves or did,
Yeah, they went missing.
Right, yeah. So easy cover up.
So the only reason I don't think that, personally, is because they found the bodies.
Right.
Like people went out, private citizens went out. The government took about 2 months to get involved. If they would have tested purposely on these people, they would have already been there to day one. They would have helped with the investigation. They would have steered it better.
Maybe.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
That's my thoughts, my opinion, because they know exactly where the people were.
Sure.
And they know that people are going to report them missing if they, realize which group it is. So to me, that's why I don't think they knew they were there.
Or they just knew that this was going to be I don't know, maybe they just knew the effects were going to be probably deadly or fatal.
Because these are college kids,
yeah,
college professors with wealthier families. There's going to be some stink raised about it. So it's not, in their mind, testing on the native people where nobody's going to know.
Right, yeah.
There's going to be a lot of stuff raised about
so.
This group of people in particular.
I guess so.
To me, that's just why I'm a big believer. I do not believe they knew they were there when they started doing the test. Because for a month before, their lights were seen. And for a couple weeks after lights were seen. It seemed like after the people got reported missing, all the orange lights stopped.
Yeah. And there's orange lights. We just don't. They could be anything.
They could be anything.
From supernatural to government.
I think they were government in this aspect. If it's this thing, and they stopped doing it when they're like, oh, there's people on the mountain looking.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, that's why another reason I don't believe that they knew.
And I wonder too with that Malaysian flight that that went missing and that video footage. What is it? 3 orbs.
3 orbs.
And you don't see really what color they are because it's in infrared.
Right. I mean, they're no color to us.
Right.
They're not a color per se.
Right. So, I mean, maybe they could appear orange if we saw them with our naked eyes and not through the infrared camera.
Another thought was this was an infrasonic weapon test.
Mm-hmm.
So they were literally using infrasound weapons. So they literally drove them nuts.
Which
we've talked about infrasound
100%.
hundreds of times.
And we've seen the weapons they developed with them being used for crowd control.
They just did recently. Where was that at?
Some protests, not here in the...
Not in the United States.
No, but...
but you see everybody, what do? They hit the ground.
Was
they
it
panic.
France, maybe?
I think it was France.
Yeah, they just... they
hit the ground, you panic, you run.
Or immediately disperse.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Because it fries your brain.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a thought here is that they were testing infrasonic weapons.
Mm-hmm.
And the people just freaked out and panicked. But their brains were so scrambled, they didn't know what they were doing. By the time they started coming to, they were freezing to death already. It was too late.
What if the mountain, something's on the mountain that creates a natural infrasound?
Okay, so
that's
next one.
Oh, all right.
So perfect.
Next on the list.
Yeah. Avalanche paramonia. So just people freaking out. The eastern face of the slope was potentially extremely disastrous avalanche zone. Mm-hmm. Another reason it was given a wide berth. Most mountaineers avoided this area completely. It was considered either extremely brave or extremely stupid to go on this particular slope because of the avalanche.
And what if that's why it was called Mountain of the Dead?
I mean, it killed people. Yeah, sure. So
just dangerous in general, just naturally.
So, there was no evidence to support they got caught up in a small avalanche. So one of the thoughts is that an avalanche had started, they panicked, they cut out, they ran, and they couldn't find the tent. The tent was covered up in snow. There's some evidence for that. There's not really a lot of evidence for that. One thought is that an avalanche went on the other side of the mountain, and avalanches cause
infrasound,
and that drove them nuts.
That could very much happen.
So there's a lot of stuff with the avalanches. It's called, there's an actual term for it, avalanche panic.
Wouldn't that be crazy if that's all it was?
Mm-hmm.
Like the most simplest solution.
And it could be.
Right.
So they think that this tent, if a small avalanche, it may have only been buried 3 feet deep in the snow. So that's why they were out there wandering around until they froze to death.
Because it was
they couldn't find the tent.
Hiding in plain sight, basically.
Yeah.
It's like right there in your nose, but just far enough away you can't ever see it.
Now, what doesn't support this is the injuries and the weird blunt force trauma to the heads.
Right.
I don't really think.
I mean,
that's what happened.
Unless the infrasound drove them crazy and they gave themselves, someone hurt, one of them went rogue, and just started. Yeah. Now,
yes, the snow part is not the killer if it is an avalanche.
Correct. Yeah.
It would be a human.
100%. Yeah. There's no evidence. There's zero evidence of that. A snow trapping these people, killing them. There's no evidence of that besides the elements themselves, the cold. But nothing about them being buried or hurt or injured by an avalanche. There's no evidence of that.
So one everybody's been waiting for. A Siberian monster.
Okay.
The Alma. So their version of Bigfoot are roughly a Bigfoot-like creature. The Alma, the tribe, the Mansi have Alma sightings. Mansi talk about Almas in the mountains. The Mansi talk that they are incredibly territorial wild men. They are violent and they are scary. That's from the Mansis, the people that live there.
That live there, yeah.
So traditionally, similar to Alaskan natives, Canadian natives, the Headless Valley,
well, I mean, you don't listen to the natives because they're just dumb and they don't know nothing.
But with those areas, the natives talk about that when Almas, even like Port Locke and stuff like that in Alaska, when Yetis, Bigfoot, Almas, whatever you want to call them, when they set up a territory, the natives are like, that's to their space.
Stay out.
You don't go there.
Right.
This is with the Mountain of the Dead. Had extreme similarities with those cases here on the North American continent.
Absolutely.
So, let's say they did go up here, and the couple days, for whatever reason, let's say the lights or illness, whether they're paranormal, extra-dimensional creatures, or that the owners were being bothered by the lights, so they're extra testy, right now. And there's that famous picture where nobody can tell if it's a Bigfoot or one of the people in a snowsuit.
Right.
It's leaning, like poking out from behind a tree.
Yeah,
It looks like the Michelin Man almost in a
kind of,
really
yeah.
grainy picture.
Yeah, it's grainy, it's blurry, but there's definitely a figure there.
It's a humanoid.
Yeah.
So that could be an all-in attack. Another thing, like I said, journals pop up every once in a while that they say it's related.
Right.
That there was something that they had found tracks a couple days before, and that something was following them that they thought was a person. So they kind of, if the journals are true, they thought it was a mountain man.
Right, yeah, if.
But they never said Bigfoot or monster.
You're right.
They thought it was a mountain man or one of the Manzi.
Okay.
We're
human following them.
Just like walking them through the area.
Right.
And tracking
them.
Yeah, but what do we talk about with Bigfoot? From everything from the controversial Todd Standings areas to like what Joel and all them have been doing recently, recording behind you. What do Bigfoot do? They follow you through a territory.
Right.
So whether
Basically
it's real or
escorting
not,
you.
there is what I believe are real behaviors that we associate with Bigfoot. So the blunt force trauma, this could be explained by punches and slashes
Easily.
to the skull, Bigfoot punching somebody, all that stuff. I don't know if anybody can hear that. There is road construction outside that is incredibly loud.
Yeah, I know. They've been doing this for a month straight.
So I apologize. I'll try to edit it out, but we'll see. So yeah, a creature basically coming up and shaking the tent or roaring, and they cut out and run.
Infrasound to even
And
get
it's
them
out there destroying the tent, and they're hiding in the woods. And some of the recreations, that's what it is this creature is maybe not directly trying to kill them, but it's just really upset that they're there.
Yeah, it might just be trying to push them out.
And doing the bluff charges or even the strikes and stuff like that.
Well, that part might have been
But
attempted murder.
Almas are known for being extremely territorial.
Right, yeah.
But also extremely secretive from the native groups that have ulnas. If you don't go in their area, you're not going to see one.
Right.
But if you see one, you're probably going to die.
Fair.
I mean, that's how ulnas are kind of described.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, there's a lot. There's unverified pieces of paper that were allegedly discovered on the campsite. So this is one of the big things. This is a piece of paper where it is written, "For now, we know there are snowmen." This is said to be a piece of paper discovered on the campsite that was uncovered in the Soviet information, in the
Investigation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For now, from now on, we know there are snowmen. And this is kind of a colloquial name for ulnas or yetis.
Okay.
So this is a big point to this was a Bigfoot attack, a Bigfoot-like creature. It could easily shatter one's rib cage. Basically, like the coroner had said, these people were like they were hit by a car.
Yeah.
And then slashes, or even a rock to the back of the head from these things chucking them.
Could very easily, yeah. I mean, this is always the main speculation of what killed these people or what ravaged their camp. Is this creature? The only evidence, I guess, or where I'm speculative of it, where there should be at least footprints or some sort of evidence of it
Now,
tromping around.
I personally may not agree with that.
Okay.
So our Bigfoots are here in North America are, in my opinion, more adapted for generalist capabilities.
Okay.
So they do have the big sponge pad for sound and weight
Right.
distribution. So they only leave tracks in very soft sediment. Snow would be a good example. But if you find snowshoe hares and lynx, and those animals are specifically adapted to snowier climates or mountain climates, you don't find tracks of them. They have basically snowshoes built in. Or you find the tracks are so disrupted, it's hard to tell it's a track.
Yeah.
So if this is an ulna, and that's more like the snow mountain version of a Bigfoot, or a specialized Bigfoot adapted to this area, and this is the full flesh and blood Bigfoot.
Right.
I think that their tracks may not show up or may have been overlooked because they do not look like a track.
Okay.
It'd be more like a big light indentation. So they may have been completely overlooked. And then the yellowness is just from frostbite. The other side of it is that they're paranormal creatures, or partially paranormal creatures. So they don't leave tracks. I mean, people, we talked in the U.S. where they leave tracks and they don't.
Right.
Or they watch a Bigfoot and they don't leave tracks. There's that one that we had on the show where they were inside a garage, and Ron Moorhead talks about that they're not really there sometimes.
Right, yeah.
Or physically fully there.
Right.
But where the sound is coming from, there's not one there.
Right, exactly.
So it could be that too, to where it wasn't leaving tracks because it wasn't fully here.
The paranormal, which would explain the orb thing.
Yes.
Like with Randy's case when he had that on his property, it was there, but it was still like had that orb aura around it.
Yeah.
So it's physically there, but it also physically wasn't. It's just kind of odd. The way he described it too is when they're here and you physically see them, they're physically here. Like they're actually here.
Mm-hmm.
But they can also not be here physically at the same time. It's just weird. I don't know how to explain it when it comes to like the flesh and blood, because it might not be flesh and blood, especially in his case. And in this case, it might not be flesh and blood with the lights being involved.
So the Alma is one that if you ask me today, Alma's my number one.
What it could be.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Tomorrow, I will not feel the same way because I will hear something, see something, look at something. My top two are always either Almas or government,
Yeah.
whether it was accidental or purposeful.
Uh-huh.
But government
Uh-huh.
experimentation killed these people.
Yeah.
I have a couple more that are smaller that I don't have very much evidence for.
Okay.
You already got the one, which is the jellyfish. Snow wassets,
Oh, yeah. There we go.
which anybody doesn't know, they're basically just giant ferrets that dig through the snow and eat people.
They're eel wolves.
Wolves.
That swim through the snow
Mm-hmm.
and they ambush you.
A
from
fearsome
beneath.
folklore.
Yeah.
There was-
also known as not real.
There was a pelt of one, though.
Yeah. Okay.
Remember we talked about that when we did it?
Yeah.
From that fur trader,
100%.
which
yeah.
was probably, what did we talk about? It may have been an albino otter pelt. It was something.
Something weird.
It was a
but-
real pelt,
Right. Yeah.
but whatever it actually was
Not a snow wasset.
basically a snake with fur
Yes.
and a piranha or a Goliath tigerfish had a baby. Had the head of a Goliath tigerfish, the body of a snake, and the fur of a snowshoe hare
Was this a fur-bearing trout?
on land.
Right. Yeah.
All right. My last one, though, is one I do not get. I think I seen it one time, one place, shared for this as an idea.
Okay.
A Wendigo.
Okay.
Now, either a person here got possessed by the Wendigo spirit, or there was already a Wendigo living on the mountain and started hunting these people.
I'd imagine it'd be that of the two,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't think someone in that tent or in that group was actually turning into a Wendigo.
Now, remember, we've talked about it. It's not just cannibalism.
Right.
It can be everything from taboo acts to desperation and depression.
Yeah. Right. But one night,
Or no, I'm saying the whole trip.
it's just a building thing.
Yeah, well, like the same thing with the parasitic infection or anything like that.
Yeah.
Or you just snap. Like the guy, when we did the Wendigo season premiere,
Uh-huh.
that had killed all those people on that bus. He
Hmm.
wasn't building up. He just snapped one day.
Hmm.
But my thought is, if there is a Wendigo already living up there, and that's why they call it the Mountain of the Dead,
Mhm.
and it was hunting these people, and it beat these people, ripped her tongue out, ate it.
What if Wendigo syndrome passes through bacterial infections?
Like the midichlorian.
Right, yeah. So they got infected. Someone got infected with
Like vampirism.
yeah, and it just turned them into it.
No, so I seen that somewhere. If I had to pick two, I can't pick one. I really can't. I think these people either died of whatever the Alma is, an Alma attack,
Yeah.
or government experimentation, purposeful or not. I lean towards the non-purposeful. I think just because I think there's more evidence personally to point that they didn't know those people were up there,
Right.
and they kind of stopped the experiments once people were looking for them.
Mhm.
So it was just a clumsy accident where they were testing sonic weapons, they were testing radioactive materials, they were whatever they were testing.
Right, yeah.
And then once they realized people were up there looking for people, they stopped everything because that's about the same time the orbs stopped
Mhm.
as well. Because they were seen for about a month before and about 2 weeks after the incident.
Hmm.
That'd be about the time when people started looking for them and they were talking that there was a bunch of missing people. And I could see some general being like, dang it, we did that.
Right, yeah.
Or maybe they didn't even know. Maybe they just stopped because the people were up there looking for somebody. Oh, somebody went missing. And it's not uncommon.
Right, yeah.
So let's stop experiments. And then 2 months later when they're like, oh, they died. How? That was definitely us.
Well, I know. Then they come.
But that's when the government gets involved.
Right,
And they
yes.
take over the investigation.
And then create false cover stories.
Because they generally
speculate.
didn't.
Right.
The Soviet Union, there was whole crews and people for this type of stuff that were doing those investigations.
Mm-hmm.
And then the government took over about 2 months later when it got weird.
And what if the government? What if this is one of their, I guess, experiment areas? Kind of like a Stranger Things kind of.
Yeah, a portal area.
Portal area, and then maybe the Alma could be like the guard dog.
Sure.
Like how we have a lot of
dog man with military bases here.
Yeah, yeah. And then so these people maybe they just got too close, and the guard dog just reacted out of.
Not ate them, but
scared them off, pushed them off, did its
slashing
job.
them.
Did its job.
Yeah.
And then they're like, uh-oh, like
bad.
Billy got out of his cage.
You're only supposed to kill the Manzi people.
Right. Well, yeah.
They don't have phones.
What if, maybe they just got too close to them.
Sure.
I don't know.
So that's my two. What if you had to pick one or two, what would you pick?
Well, I could see the Alma thing, but I'm thinking more towards the paranormal, whatever Bigfoot thing is.
Yeah.
Rather than a physical creature. Because I just feel like
I kind of lump all the Ulnas into that. Like, whether it's a physical Ulna as in a physical Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Or the more paranormal Ulnas.
Because I feel like the lights are definitely tied to whatever did this. And
Sure.
And we have plenty of those lights areas, even here in the U.S. That's just so similar. It's dangerous areas. Missing 411. I mean, the only difference with them is just the bodies go missing.
They found him.
Yeah, this one they found them. So something bad, traumatic happened. We know that, but what was it?
And if they would have not found the bodies,
Yeah.
this would not be as famous of a case.
No, not at all.
Because there was, when they first couldn't find people,
Uh-huh.
they thought they ended up in the river below. Like they rolled off the mountain.
Right,
And they're
yeah.
they're dead in the river. We're never going to find them.
Floating around, and they'll find their bodies turned up in some dam 400 miles away. I don't know. But I feel like maybe it is a government-involved thing. But it may be more a government, the paranormal side of government.
Sure.
Just like I know you still haven't seen it yet, but that last season of Stranger Things, whenever this comes out or whenever you're listening to this, not this newest season that hasn't come out yet, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Whichever one came out before 2024, they showed the Russians doing like a lot of weird paranormal experiments.
Because we were doing it too.
Yes, exactly. And I think Stranger Things is a soft disclosure.
Russia, China, and the
thing.
U.S.
Always.
We're always doing those experiments. The
We're
old man
still
that stared
doing it.
goats.
We're still
MK Ultra.
Yes.
Those are the MK Ultra thing. People, I think, here in the U.S. have fantasized that it wasn't real. Like that's not documents that leaked out. Now there's stuff about it that is probably not real or has been dramatized.
Mm-hmm. But there's a lot.
But they admitted that we did it. The Tuskegee experiments.
There's a lot they've admitted to when it comes to the MK Ultra experiments.
Yeah.
So imagine what they're
not
sharing with us.
or omitting.
Yeah. Lying by omission.
Yeah, skipping.
So, exactly. Which is just nuts. The parts they do admit to is mind blowing. So I can't even imagine what parts they're hiding from us.
Well, so if you had to pick, you're going Alna or are you going government or stranger government?
I think both.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's both.
But like I said, next week my opinion on this could be completely different.
Sure. Yeah.
I've listened to so many episodes from various podcasts that I really like on this topic, and everybody has a different idea and they have reasons for that. I don't think, I mean, obviously nobody's wrong because nobody's right.
Right, yeah. The only people that know
Are all dead.
Are all dead, or the ones that, well, they're even dead too. The ones that committed the act, if it was a human.
A government ran or designed, or even, I seen the thing where it was a serial killer.
Yeah, I'm going to lean against that one, but it could be.
I don't think it was.
Right, yeah.
But I seen somebody say that it was a mountain man or like a Soviet criminal that was hiding out there and just seen these people on his slope and went and murdered them.
That's just, I don't know.
All right.
I mean, there's sick people out there. You can't rule it out, but I just don't think on the isolated dead man's mountain, there's a guy hanging out just waiting for people to murder.
Well, he's like, nobody comes here. That's perfect.
Right, yeah.
Now I got to keep the legend alive.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I've been the great and powerful mystery.
I've been JClone221.
We'll catch you next week, guys.
Bye.
Hey, guys. Thank you for listening to Cryptids the Corn podcast. Remember, the best way to support the show is share it with a friend. But if you are craving more of the J clones
And more from Mr. E,
there's always extra content on Patreon.
And our paid member space on cryptidsofthecorn.com.
We'll catch you next time with more exciting, fun, and informative information. Bye.